sort of expertise and advice and guidance to artists and producers, and all of this, I should say, is for creative practitioners, not just the more niche artist tag. So if anybody has questions about any of that, we will have the sort of official language, proper press releasey type stuff very, very soon. But you can also drop me a line, or obviously join Brighton Artists Network if you haven't already, so you can be involved in that. And Michelle Donkin often comes to this group, I think, representing Ironclad Creative. But if you need to get a message to any of those people, you can do that via me, no problem. We'd love to hear from you. Yeah, so I'm actually, in a perverse way, like, it's quite nice that there's not shows going on, because we can do all these things and have the concert hall stage having all kinds of other things going on it. So yeah, look forward to seeing people in the Dome soon. And the cafe's open if you want to come in for socially distanced, amazing vegetarian feta tart. I stop now.
Thank you. Thanks for the invitation,
Yeah.
Kyla. Going for lunch. Can I hand over now to Lou, and then on to Tamsin, and then Naomi? That's okay. Over to you, Lou. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah, for those of you who don't know me, I'm senior producer at South East Dance. We got £180,000, and if you don't know, we are currently building a home for dance in the centre of the city, the dance space. It should have been open now, but due to COVID and, to be honest, Brexit, it's delayed. So we will be opening next year, and this money was basically safeguarding the future of the dance space. So particularly if, and let's face it, when we have to open with COVID implications in place, so we will have to be opening a new venue with socially distanced guidelines in place, which is obviously going to impact on the income that we'd projected for the first year. So it's basically to safeguard that, which also means that when the dance space opens, we'll be able to offer free space for artists to make work, and lots of community opportunities for participation, which we'll be able to offer at free cost to no cost to artists. So it really is about that. It's about shoring up the future of the dance space.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Lou. And over to Tamsin.
Hi, we got 50,000, and this will enable us to keep going, to continue the projects that we'd already started. We did a project at the Brighton Fringe, which was postponed to October, called Savage Beauty, and that's one of the projects that we want to. It's an outdoor project, so it's right for kind of socially distancing, which is what we did in October.
Tamsin, sorry to interrupt. Can you just say the company and what you do?
Oh, sorry. I'm artistic director of Actors of Dionysus. I've got a different hat on at the moment because I'm doing a show in Berlin, so that's where I am. So my head's not really in AOD at the moment, but yeah, so we got 50,000 from the Cultural Recovery Fund, and that has enabled us to continue our work. One of the most important things is to keep our general manager, Catherine, who is also here, Catherine Sturt-Scobie. We have an array of projects, some of which that we already started. One was called Savage Beauty, which we already did, which we will be redeveloping. And it has a vast swathe of community engagement, working with young children and over 50s, over 60s. So we'll be able to work with a lot of freelancers, Brighton-based freelancers. Another project that we did was a daily dose, so we want to pay freelancers to develop that. There's a Black Voices in Myth project that we want to develop to R&D and then hopefully further, so that we'll able to start that. We also got some funding for to develop our board. We want to make it more diverse, and that includes having an away day and some brainstorming sessions. And we're very, very much up for sharing training in any kind of whatever it is, really. What else? I think those are the main things, unless Catherine, you wanted to add anything to that I've missed. Catherine?
Well, also, so I'm Catherine and I'm the general manager Tamsin was talking about. Very grateful to be kept on. So we're also looking at developing a business plan for the next kind of 3 years and looking how we can kind of continue being a sustainable and successful charity in light of the global pandemic, which we'll hopefully be able to adapt to with these kind of business plan focus in the next few months. Yeah, that's all I wanted to add.
Thanks very much, Catherine and Tamsin.
I'm going to have to leave quite shortly because I have a tech to do. We've got a show tonight, so I'll probably sign off. But Catherine's going to stay. But thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you for joining us, Tamsin. Really appreciate it. Have a good.
Pleasure to be here.
And over to Naomi.
Hello everyone, I'm Naomi from Brighton People's Theatre. We were very fortunate in getting £50,000, which is going to keep us alive for the next 6 months. We're going to do 4 things with that. The first is that we're going to reinstate our programme of activity across the city. So we're going to restart our play reading groups, our theatre clubs online. We're also continuing with our online weekly theatre club, which we've been running throughout the pandemic. And we're hoping to expand this to hopefully start off 2 new face-to-face workshops from January, which may have to go online depending on what happens, but we're planning to do them face-to-face. The second thing that we're doing is we're a tiny team. We're the equivalent of 1 full-time member of staff. That's what we've contracted to over the last few months. So we are increasing the capacity of that tiny team. We're also hoping to create 2 new freelance posts in the creative side of the team. So we're looking forward to that. The third thing that we're doing is around increasing our capacity to fundraise, looking at our governance structures and our organisational development, including training. And the last thing is we've been spending our reserves, and so we're going to replenish those. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Naomi. That's great. So I've got a very quick update from Other Place Productions who couldn't join us today, and others might know them as the Warren. They just said that they are, so sent apologies, are keen to be involved with people as part of What Next. They are going to be using the funding really to be investing in the planning and setting up the infrastructure in order that they can reopen the Warren next year. They also have a socially distanced version of that if they need to. And they're going to be keeping Electric Arcade open, which I don't know if people have seen, is a small new venue on the seafront. So that'll be running through the winter. So that's just a message from them. I'm going to now hand over to others who have questions. There's lots going on in the chat, which is great. I mean, there are some observations I would make about training. Quite a lot of us have said about some similar training. So there are already a group of us who are trying to do some crowdfunding training together. But if there is, other shared themes, maybe we could try and do this collectively and learn together, and maybe create some space for freelancers as well, possibly on these training sessions. Faith, have you picked up any questions that we could go back to?
Yeah, sure. I mean, people have kind of responded a bit on the chat, but I think it's worth just going back to them anyway. The first question was from Naomi to Persephone about the anti-racist training, and Persephone has responded, but maybe you just want to make that clear for everyone. Naomi's question was, can anyone join your anti-racist arts leadership training?
It's not a training, it's more like sectoral development, I think, and explorations, and I think it probably follows on from lots of organisations making action plans. It's kind of holding. First of all, there's going to be space for freelancers and creative outputs being made, but also I think we should work organisationally to sort of deepen our commitments, like to our action plans, and to sort of just hold each other to account and kind of go much further with the anti-racist stuff in Brighton. So yeah, we can talk about it more, but it's not a training.
Okay, thanks, Percy. I'm wondering whether it's worth going to Jane, actually. Jane, do you want to talk a little bit about, because we've been looking into this, haven't we, about doing some anti-racism training, and Louise has also mentioned a trainer. I'm just wondering whether, as we're on this subject, and I know many people want to deepen their learning and make change about it, whether we could share about that.
Yes, you caught me on the hop now, because I hadn't got that in my front brain as a thought at all.
You have to.
But yes, we have been having some conversations, and I can certainly share that in terms of the information and where we are at the moment. I don't think we've reached any conclusion about how we're going to take that forward. I think David and I were still, and he's left, David and I were sort of pinging emails backwards and forwards about making a decision on that. So sorry, that's not very helpful. I appreciate that. But perhaps I could send an email and update people on where we are with that in terms of who we're speaking to. And I think certainly we also tried to get feedback from the group in terms of what sort of training they would find useful. And also inevitably, of course, it was also a little bit budget based in terms of we got some fantastic programs, but you would literally take up the whole budget that we had. So we're trying to sort of hone that down and focus in on where it's going to be most beneficial. I hope that's useful. Sorry, I wasn't expecting to be asked.
Sorry, Jen, I just thought
it's all right. It's all right. But while I'm here, if you don't mind, just very quickly, with my Creative Future hat on, just to say that we didn't go for recovery funding, but we have submitted a project grant application, which we're very excited about, and the fact that we've actually been able to do that, and we're waiting to hear the outcome of that. So we're hoping that that's going to be positive, and we've been fortunate in that we have been able to set a budget for this with a little bit of emergency response funding a while back. We have been able, and some of the team on and off of furlough have been able to set a budget for this financial year, and so we decided we'd go for project funding. So everyone keep fingers crossed for us for that. Thanks.
Thank you, Jane.
I think, Louise, do you want to just mention the trainer that you worked with?
I can do. He's called Craig Pinkney. He's a criminologist and youth worker kind of specialist. He's a street worker. He's amazing. It was a 2-hour session. It went through the kind of history of why of where racism began, in fact, like through historical, and then came to the modern day, and then talked about action focused things that we can all do. It was 2 hours. I was dreading it because it was Zoom. I just thought it would take a long time. It zipped by. He's an incredible person anyway. But yeah, it was really useful for our team to start to understand yeah, the roots of all of this, and also to be able to articulate and use language that and feel confident about working in this area with young people in particular is what was good about that for us.
Thanks. And the link is in the chat if anyone wants to have a look at his website. I think Naomi had a question.
It was just a recommendation actually on this topic that Sour Lemons in London is a group of young people who are doing anti-racist training for arts organisations. I'll find the link now and put it in the chat, but yeah, I'd highly recommend them as well.
Great, thanks. Liz had a couple of questions around the opportunity to explore accessibility within live streaming and training regarding the Tom project, and also has just made a comment about what happens to venues and organisations who weren't successful, especially as some of the accessible spaces are now at risk. I don't know if Liz, you want to just pick that up. There we go. Thanks, Liz. Oh,
we can't hear you, Liz. Liz, is it okay? Thanks, Liz, for the message. We've got your points, but I suppose maybe we can go to the group actually. In terms of Helen's question, is there a list? I don't know. I think the only way we'd know is if people had said that they were unsuccessful. So I haven't seen a list of unsuccessful organisations. Does anybody, Nikki, did you want to add on to that? And Louise?
I don't know anything about who was unsuccessful. Sorry, I was picking up on something else. So if Louise knows, do go for it.
Yeah, I think we have to wait and see what people who are happy to share that information. But what I was thinking is that I wonder whether we should have one of these sessions about or how we can support, because project grants is one way of suggesting, and whether there's a way that it might not be this session, but that we as What Next can help to share this information about training and what we're doing with those organisations, so that that it becomes a kind of support network for those that want it.
Yeah,
that sounds great. Again, this kind of has been answered in the chat, but just maybe
Lisa wanted to come in first. I don't know if it was on that
Sorry.
one.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. I just wanted to say I know that the Rialto weren't successful. Not an accessible venue, but very much a grassroots development venue for a lot of people, an affordable space, and very busy doing the Fringe. So I feel for them. I don't know. Anne-Marie is just saying the Albert as well, another grassroots one alongside the Brunswick. But it would be good to know who didn't and how they might be able to be supported.
Yeah, I mean, I know that that Brighton Fringe are doing a lot of work now about the future of that organisation, because they were unsuccessful as well. They had an open Zoom meeting last night to kind of kickstart some of those conversations, and I would imagine that there might be more of those. I don't have any specific information, but it's definitely worth, obviously, all of us looking out for that, and hopefully they'll be able to join one of these meetings in the future, because obviously it's a massive part of the city. So yeah, keep an eye. Any other people? Okay, so Kyla.
Just on that, supporting other venues in the city, I just wanted to sort of share that with the Live is Alive gigs that we've been doing, that we did that in partnership with a whole bunch of grassroots music venues who couldn't open and run gigs because of social distancing, and it took a lot, you know, I'm sure you won't be surprised, it took a lot of work to get a shared vision and to make it all happen. But that was working with the Brunswick and Chalk and Concord 2 and the Green Door Store and Hope and Marine, and you can read the whole list on the website. There's loads of people that are involved in them, but that model was kind of Dome provides the space, and then those venues do the programming and keep the ticket income, and that probably that's not going to be sustainable forever, but certainly in this like particular moment of crisis that we're in, I think it's an interesting model for the city about whether the spaces that can open can host things with and for others who can't yet, and that whether that's helpful in the future to look at.
On that, I think the Brighton Centre are looking at a similar sort of thing, so and obviously have huge capacity there as well. So.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Anne-Marie has a question.
It's just a couple of points. So I know that from the Freelancers Make Theatre Work group, they are looking for venues that would be interested in hosting freelancers spa days. They just did their first one at the Globe. So if any of you venues out there want to offer your spaces and support that, that would be great. Get in touch with them. And the other thing that I noticed was a very resourceful fundraiser was offering freelancers one-to-one advice surgeries on applying for developing your creative practice. And I know a lot of freelancers, because they're opening it up to people that are not natural fundraisers and not natural form filler outers. I'm just wondering, this was someone who was doing it in Bristol. I'm just wondering if there's an equivalent, or if any of you guys know fundraisers that might want to offer something like that.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. We've actually got the next session, we've got Ace coming along to do developing your creative practice. So maybe we can also bring that up at that meeting, actually, to say, and maybe that's something about different organisations. I don't know, maybe being able to pull together, holding a sort of surgery day, one-to-one advice maybe for people who are thinking of applying. There's Jessica there. Sorry to play. Sorry.
No, I was actually just going to say whether Jess wanted to come in and just update everyone on the theatre search.
Yeah, I would love to. Hi everyone, really nice to see lots and lots of faces I've not seen for ages. So I'm artistic director of Spun Glass Theatre. For anyone that doesn't know, we've been working through lockdown on a big research project called Theatre Search. And I know loads and loads of you are already represented on that. I just wanted to pop up and say this would be a really good time to log on to the arts map that we're running with Public Campaign for the Arts. Make sure that you've claimed your listing so that any changes that happen as a result of Cultural Recovery Fund, they can go up, they can be live, and then all the kind of independent companies, producers and stuff, you've got commissions or programming call outs or different bits and pieces, you can put it all in there, and it's all becoming totally automated, so that will go. And also then the wider public can see the effect of the fund on Brighton, so that'd be good. But also just going back to what you were saying about sort of developing your creative practice, I was going to pop up and say a lot of the work that Spun Glass Theatre at the moment is doing is just like churning out bids. Like we're completely almost overwhelmed, I'd say, by artists coming and talking about project grants, developing your creative practice, and looking for that bid writing support. And we do a lot through access support for dyslexic or people with real mental health challenges. And it's been quite tricky for totally obvious reasons to kind of get that support from partnerships that's so vital for project grants and things to actually be successfully funded, because a lot of them are coming back not funded at the moment. And you know, anyone that can offer help with bid writing, anyone that can offer help with free space or bits and pieces for artists that are kind of going through that would be really amazing. So it's just essentially taking on loads of freelance staff and stuff to kind of get those through. Project grants feels like it's the only possibility for a lot of people, but it seems to be massively over applied for, and loads of big venues are putting in for it and kind of crowding, you know. So that was just a general kind of, you know, it'd be great to see what you guys can offer now that you have got a couple of months stability at least. I've got loads of other questions. I don't know like how you guys want to do. Shall I put them in the chat or shall I?
Yeah, I'm conscious about, we've got 5 minutes to the end of the meeting. We do need to finish on time today. So I'm going to say to you, Jessica, if you want to ask a question, go back to you immediately to throw a question out there. But I think there's something here definitely, isn't there, about people who are willing to share some of their time and align to already some of the activity that's already happening. Maybe we could put this in the next newsletter, because we are doing a Developing Your Creative Practice session next time. We could do a call out to see if anybody would like to, is anybody's able to give their time, or if they're doing things that are supporting freelancers. And maybe Kyla, we can try and tie it in to Open Doors in some way, or to the Ironclad work. How does that sound? Yeah, okay. I'm going to go to Jessica. And in terms of other questions, I'm wondering if people want to write them in the chat. We will send out the chat to everybody, but maybe individual organisations can respond to the questions. But Jessica, I'm going to go to you.
I think this is maybe the most relevant one for everybody, is that, sorry if it's already been answered at some point, but is there a knowledge of the kind of Brighton and Hove local authority funding? Because there was quite a lot of money successfully awarded there. Like, what is that going to, or how is that supporting the city? I don't know if anyone knows.
That is a good question. I think lots of organisations were successful either in the £2,500 or the £10,000 grant, and I think there was quite a lot of success for peer members in EPIC, which is great. So a lot of the people who are part of the supply chain and commercial producers were successful. I don't know that we saw a definitive list though, but we could put that back as a question, couldn't we, back to the council, and see, and maybe people again can update about that. Jane.
Just very quickly, because we applied for that and we weren't successful. They had bids worth 10 million and they had 3.5 million to give out. But there was, at that point that we weren't successful, they did say that they were going to go back to government to ask for more support and that they would update us on that information, but I've not heard anything. So I can follow that up if that would be useful, as someone who wasn't successful and waiting to hear.
No, sorry, I think maybe it's got the wrong end of the stick. Maybe I didn't say. Maybe I'm mistaken. But I thought that Brighton and Hove Council got quite a large cultural recovery fund.
I think that was for the museum.
Yes,
it was.
Oh, I see. Sorry, Jessica, I misunderstood. I thought you meant the funding that they were giving to certain sectors within the city a while back. That was, yeah, sorry.
No, that's right. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Faith. It was for the museum. But the applicant was the council. Any other questions at this time? Jessica, you said you had more.
If we got, well, I don't know if it's so much a question, maybe it's more of an observation, but just interesting to hear that a lot of what people are saying that they were successful for was obviously kind of like shoring up their organisation, and lots of industry focused stuff about training, lots of industry focused stuff about freelancers, but not so much about the communities in Brighton, people that are living in real crisis and, you know, not being able to put food on the table and stuff, and like, what is our role citywide to kind of help people through the winter, really.
Does anybody want to pick up on that? Kyla?
No, sorry, wrong hand moment.
Wrong hand.
Something. Wanted to say something different.
Does anybody want to say something about that? I think that is an important question in terms of the impact and partnerships potentially that people might want to be thinking about. We're constantly talking about how we can be better, collaborate and partner up, but also, as you've rightly pointed out, other ways we could partner up with others and other charities in the city over the next period. I guess that is down to individual organisations. I'm going to go to Naomi on that.
Yeah, just to let you know, I mean, it's a drop in the ocean really, but one of the workshops that we are going to be starting hopefully face-to-face in January will be in Whitehawk at St Cuthman's Church there, because we know that there's a big demand from our open up arts research for people in that area. So it's a start, but it's something, and I think it's very, very challenging in these times. Yeah, it's just that I'd share that.
Great, thank you very much, Naomi. Sally, you haven't spoken. It's brilliant to have your hands up. Can you give us a quick moment, and then we're going to need to wrap up the meeting.
I was just going to say that I've been on furlough. I'm part-time freelance and part-time at Brighton Festival and Zone. I have been on furlough, but I've been brought back for a couple of days this week just to start thinking about Our Place, which is the programme we run in East Brighton and in Hankleton. So I am starting to think about those communities and what we might do leading up sort of through the winter and leading up to something for the festival next year.
Brilliant, thank you very much, Sally. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jessica, for sharing the arts map listing on there. Faith, is there anything we've missed or anything you'd want to add?
I don't think so, just that there's some information being shared on the chat, so if we can send it out, that would be great.
Right, I think, sorry, Darren, I think I might have missed you. You might have had questions. Is there anything you wanted to say before we wrap up?
No, it was just to respond to that last point about the wider community impact. You know, our funding, in particular Marina, is about being able to continue with that impact. So it's kind of the secondary part of the funding, isn't it? That actually by keeping us doing what we do, we're having that community impact. So that's kind of it is doing that reach, but second step.
That's great. Thank you, Darren. I'm sure many people probably feel the same in terms of it's about keeping their organisation going in order that they can make the social impact. Thank you, everybody. Lovely to see everybody. So in 2 weeks' time, we're back. We've got ACE South East coming to talk about DYCP, and let's try and build on that idea of trying to support others through that. But also, as Anne-Marie's highlighted, there are other programmes out there. So let's keep sharing those and thinking about those other ones, other programmes that can help the city. Thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic couple of weeks. Really appreciate you all coming along, and great to see those of you who haven't been here before.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.